Sagar sir. Yeah. So a very good morning to one and all present over here. I, Dr. Appala Naidu, welcome you to the national webinar, The Future of Blockchain and Cryptocurrencies, organized under the aegis of IQAC, Atmaram Sanatan Dharma College, University of Delhi, and collaboration with Finance and Investment Cell. It gives an immense pleasure to welcome our distinguished speakers, Dr. Jyoti Kumari, Assistant Professor, ICFAI, Business School and Hyderabad, and Mr. Sagar Vaishnav, co-founder of Governance Innovation Lab, political strategist, and alumni of Columbia Business School. Welcome, sir, and welcome, ma'am. And sir, we are really honored to have with us our dynamic and visionary principal, sir, Dr. Professor Jantosh Kumar Jha. I welcome him, and whose able guidance the college has been exponential growth in the recent years. Without his constant support, any program is not possible. He always, as a mentor, as a all suggestions will forward to me, sir. And we are thankful to him for giving us the opportunity to organize this national webinar. And also, I extend my gratitude to our webinar convener, webinar committee, Dr. Vinita Tuli, for always being there for us to support due to some other program. So, madam is not joined. And I welcome you, sir, Principal Professor Jantosh Kumar, sir. Thank you for giving us time in your busy schedule. Now, I welcome to our distinguished principal say few words. Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Appala Naidu. Honorable speakers, Dr. Jyoti Kumari, Assistant Professor, ICFAI Business School, Hyderabad. Mr. Sagar Vaishnav, co-founder of Governance Innovation Lab, political strategist, alumni of Columbia Business School. Dr. Appala Naidu, convener of FIC, on the Finance and Investment Cell of the college. Dr. Vinita Tuli, coordinator IQAC, other colleagues, and dear participants. On behalf of Atmaram Sanatan Dharma College, I welcome our both of the distinguished speaker in this national webinar, which is organized by the Finance and Investment Cell of the college in collaboration with Internal Quality Assurance Cell of the college. I am glad that IQAC, under the aegis of IQAC, the FIC is organizing these kind of webinars regularly. And today's topic, the future of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, is a very relevant topic for these days, because as we all know, that Prime Minister is regularly speaking on cryptocurrencies, and government is planning to make some rules also in this regard. So it would be very helpful for the student, teachers, and all. So thank you so much. I express my gratitude to the speakers who have given their valuable time for this webinar. My best wishes to organizers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I know, sir, you are not well, but still you encourage always to giving our positive energy, sir. Thank you very much for your words, sir. And I proceed with the talk. In this today's topic, you know very well, day-to-day life, we are observed and newspapers and social media. The pertinent topic, the cryptocurrency. What the cryptocurrency, how it is blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So in this topic, as per as my observation, and while some think of the blockchain exclusively as the engine behind the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and blockchain protocol has many other uses and can be configured over any community and run on a decentralized basis, including innovations like smart contract, cryptocurrencies administered by national banks, and it's used for recording permanent records like and transfer records and private company stock ladders and so on. So really, ma'am and Sagar sir, really we are eager to waiting for in this pertinent topic, the future of blockchains and cryptocurrencies. And thanks for your all efforts and acceptance to our invitation and giving for us your busy schedule. Thank you. And now I'm invited to my president and my team of FIC Finance and Investment Cell. And now I over to you to our president, Vinati K. Sharma. Over to you, Vinati. Yes, Vinati, please proceed.
I think she's having some network issues.
Okay.
Anyway, good morning, everyone. I'm Raba Chaudhary, and I, along with Avi, will be your moderators for the day. Avi, over to you.
Good morning to all present here. Before the session begins, I'd like to introduce Ms. Jyoti to all the participants of the meeting here. So, Ms. Jyoti Kumari is an assistant professor in the area of finance at ICFAI Business School. Her area of research includes behavioral finance, asset price dynamics, corporate finance, and capital markets with a primary focus on the interactions among asset prices, corporate finance, investor sentiment, and volatility in the capital markets. Some of her recent research explores the issues related to interlinkages between investor sentiment, market liquidity, and idiosyncratic volatility. She has written a series of papers in these areas in reputed and acclaimed journals. Dr. Jyoti Kumari has made presentations to academic and practitioner audiences. She teaches financial management, financial markets and services, security analysis and portfolio management, risk management with financial derivatives, and international finance. Dr. Jyoti has been conducting various faculty development programs and management development programs as well. Ms. Jyoti earned her PhD in finance from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and MPhil from Central University of Hyderabad. Prior to joining IBS Hyderabad, she was assistant professor at the Indian Institute of Management, Sambalpur, and Institute of Public Enterprise, Hyderabad. Sorry, ma'am, if I left any of your other achievements, but it's a really pleasure to have you today, and we hope the session goes great with you as well. Anything else that if I missed, you can mention, and have a great session, ma'am.
Not at all, not at all, right? It's been really an honor to have such a kind words and a very, a warm welcome. So it is really overwhelming for me to join this session. So will you introduce other guests as well, or shall I continue?
You can continue.
You can continue.
All right, all right. So shall I share my screen first?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, okay. So just one sec. Yeah. So first of all, it is really a warm pleasure. It is indeed a great pleasure and overwhelming moment for me to address to this Atmaram College. I thank you, Professor Appala Naidu, for giving me this great opportunity to interact with the students and share my thoughts on this. I thank you to the principal as well for this opportunity. So presently we are at the era of this digital disruptions, and we cannot leave ourselves with the adaptation, right? So we need to adapt in the society, because I would like to begin my session with the Charles Darwin's greatest theory, that is the survival of the fittest. So if we are not surviving with the adapting skills in the society, so we will cease to exist. And the present paradigm shift into the financial markets requires and demands the disruptions, the internet know-hows, and we are completely transforming from the conventional framework to the digital framework. And this digital disruptions is a paradigm shift. And Today, I'm with my novice and naive thoughts because presently everyone now we are working in these fields, which is a little bit, we are, you can say that we are completely dismantling the conventional framework and the digital disruptions, and due to the advent of the tremendous unprecedented internet know-how and the digitalization, we are into the paradigm shift. So therefore, this is the need of the hour to understand the financial technology and the implementation in the various sectors, especially financial markets, as a form of financial institutions, financial services, as financial intermediary. So the 1 hour is a very less time. So I would like just try to make sure that I can deliver some part of it as a blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I hope my voice is completely audible, and I would like to go ahead. Okay. So now first, I would like to introduce that what is this blockchain or the cryptocurrency. So before understanding cryptocurrency, we should be very well understand the blockchain technology. So we should not go into the nitty-gritty of the mathematics or the cryptography of it, but we should know that how exactly the mechanism is and how exactly the mechanism works. So even see, my dear friends, even since before 7,000 years, since the evolution of this mankind or humankind, so we have been using this ledgers or the recorded transactions since the ancient Mesopotamia time. And since that, from the clay tablets, what we used to use during that ancient Mesopotamia times, we are using the recording styles of this recording of the purchase and sales of goods or whatever transaction. So for maintaining this transaction. So the world has moved around, and from that age, we are at this a very high transformating age of this digitalization and a complete transformation into the society. And now we are at the era where we are talking about the highly automated, autonomous society, which evidently requires no intermediary. We are talking about blockchain, we are talking about artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, where these all are based upon the peer-to-peer settlement. We don't require any intermediaries. So this is precisely based upon the humongous relational databases. And why these technologies have evolved, these technologies have evolved is because of this, the threat of this cybersecurity and transparency, which is having the paramount importance during these digital transactions. And these blockchains have a humongous potential for the next generation improvements as far as the recording of transaction and exchange of value is concerned. So now I would like to introduce that what is a blockchain? What is a blockchain? So if I say what is a blockchain, so in a very formal language, I would say that the blockchain is a shared, immutable, distributed ledger technology which facilitates the process of recording transactions for tracking the assets as well as the business network. The usage is immense, and the areas are as well as multiple. We can use the technology not only into the financial markets for recording, but into the health sector, medical transactions, recording, business, everywhere. The advantages are unprecedented and uncountable areas. So how this blockchain functions, okay? So the point is that here, that this is basically the this is basically the distributed ledger technology, popularly known as DLT. Okay, so what is this DLT? Why this distribute? We need to understand this term, which is distributed ledger technology. I will introduce this, and I will very in a layman perspective, I would like to make students understand that how this mechanism functions. So we need to understand that this is the transaction which is very much immutable, indisputable, and it ensures the proof of work, the proof of stake as well for the all transactions, because this is not centralized. But before that, let us understand how it commenced. So who may not be knowing Satoshi Nakamoto? So his anonymous name, and he is the creator of this Bitcoin and or the cryptocurrency, and this blockchain is really a revolution, or it is a hype. The blockchain is being so prominent and so pertinent because of cryptocurrency. We use the technology of this blockchain in the trading of this cryptocurrency, Bitcoin or other currencies. We have more than 500 presently. So Satoshi Nakamoto, who is a posthumous and who is the pioneer and who has written this original Bitcoin white paper, and we can refer, or I can share this paper, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system by this Satoshi Nakamoto, where he has introduced, or where he has spoken about this Bitcoin, and this is the genesis of this Bitcoin. Now, moving towards, let us look at a little bit of history of this Bitcoin, right? So the idea was first published at 2008, where this postgenome of the Satoshi Nakamoto, who has published this paper, a peer-to-peer this Bitcoin. And then the Bitcoin started at 2009. And the first cryptocurrency of the stock exchange was launched in 2010. So 2011, one Bitcoin was equal to the $1, whereas due to the large number of miners who are mining these Bitcoins, it depends upon the miners. As the larger and the larger numbers of the miners, they are trying for the Bitcoins, the value of the Bitcoins increases. So in 13, it was equal to $100. And 14, Microsoft even accepted the Bitcoin, and 17, the one Bitcoin was equal to $10,000. Okay, so this is the history of this Bitcoin. And now the world is this is the paradigm shift, and now the world is more of crypto crazy. We are no more talking about the US Dow Jones. We are no more talking about the BSE Sensex or the Shanghai Index or the NYSE or any other prominent stock, conventional stock indices or the indexes for gaining the excess market returns. But we are completely dismantling from the conventional framework and going into the digital currency, which is without any intermediaries. So this digital currency, this digital framework completely, makes the intermediaries as redundant. So there is no role of intermediary because of the layers of the protection which is introduced with the blockchain. So before trading into Bitcoins, we need to understand the mechanism of this blockchain. So let us begin. I would not go into the mathematical notations and all. I would just, in a very, for the financial understanding, I'll just go ahead with this. So see, if very momentarily, if I have to start what is blockchain, it is primarily a distributed ledger technology, and it has been hyped up due to this cryptocurrency trading. So in a more abstract way, it is a distributed ledger technology. And what properties and characteristics does it have? So let us understand that what is this distributed ledger technology and why it is called immutable and indisputable, and why it is irreversible in nature. So we need to understand. So my dear friends, it is the distributed ledger technology. It is the governance system is completely in contrast to the traditional governance, right? So in the traditional governance is the centralized mechanism. It is the centralized mechanism. But whereas in contrast, it is decentralized. What is this decentralized mechanism? So I would like to open one of my normal, blank PPT. Now, yeah, so this would be better for me. I hope this slide is visible. The blank slide is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, it's absolutely visible.
Right. Okay, fine. So let me just, all right. So I'm not very good in drawing, so please kindly bear with me. So my dear friends, this distributed ledger technology, it forms a chain of blocks which contains the information into it, and it cannot be tempered with the joining of the new block. But the question arises, why and how? We have a layer of protections, or the layer of, you can say that this mechanism, how it works. So the one block will contain certain information, like we have the data. Every block will be assigned one hash function. This hash function will be the unrevealed function which cannot be read by the normal people. So this is a coding, hash coding, right? And it will also contain the hash of the previous block. All right. So one block is containing the three mandatory indispensable information. Number one is the data. Number two is the hash coding, which is not revealed. Only the holders of these block will be knowing the hash function. Each hash function is connected with every transaction. Whenever it is recorded, all the transactions are being decentrally shared with all the participants into this block, and it will be shared. And each block is connected with the preceding block. And the first block will be known as the Genesis block. So let me introduce you. Let me do a very small homework. Let's suppose we have 3 blocks. To make it, more practical, let us understand if we have 3 blocks. Fine. Now, I'm just giving any kind of a code. The second block, Q1, and the third block. I hope my voice is very much audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're perfectly audible.
Right. And therefore, I turned my video off so that there will be no audio issues at all. Right. So see, my dear friends, we have 3 blocks here. Now the question arises that why it is not, it creates a trust in the data, because it is based on the cryptography technology. What is this cryptography technology? The cryptography technology is the technology of Enigma. So the Enigma was the kind of the technology which is being used during the Second World War, and by this, the German Nazis to break this coding. So that is the cryptography which was invented during that time by the mathematician, the Austrian mathematician Alan Turing has invented that. And since then, we are using this cryptography to breaking the codes. You can have some kind of a cryptography reflections in the recent movie of this Razi, I think, in which they have, suited some cryptography encryptions were sent in that movie from the country Pakistan to India for that Ghazi attack, which was based on that, right? So what happens in this chain of these blocks? The first block, this is the Genesis block. This is, what is this? This is the Genesis block, okay? And now, and let us give as a hash. So this is the Genesis block hash. Now, this is the first block, this is the second block, this is the third block. For the feasibility, I have taken just 3 blocks, but there can be hundreds, thousands, and millions of blocks in the digital. This is the blockchain, technology. But for the feasibility, we can't have such numbers. So now, the previous hash 1Z85, previous hash 6BQ1. So the second block is connected with the first block. The third block is connected with the second block. So whenever there is any new entry, so you can see this, the first block hash is 1Z8F. The second block hash, this is connected with this first block, and the third one is connected with this second one. Therefore, it forms a chain which is immutable. Therefore, it is called immutable because each block is connected with each other, and any change in the block cannot be done by the individual because it is so indispensable. And these records, the all computers, independent, computers of these miners, they are called nodes, and they record and share all these synchronized transactions with their own electronic ledgers. So therefore, and it is chained in such a way that it cannot be broken in a so easiest way. All right. So what is this? Therefore, this is immutable. And this is also supported by this proof of work. Okay. So this is supported by this proof of work.
Yes, I think there is some technical glitches were happened. Madam will join. Just a dear participant, just a minute.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sir, there is a one, interruption is coming in between, and it is showing, that join this breaking room. What is this, sir?
Join. Maybe some.
Okay, fine. Because because I'm not able to, write on my PPTs.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So because this is creating, you know, a problem. All right. So therefore, it is called immutable ledgers. Why this is called immutable ledgers? Because each the participants, they will be having the key for all the transactions whenever the transaction happens. And it is each node is connected with each other, and the any change in any of the node for any transaction cannot be done without the approval of the each nodes, without the approval of the each ledger. Therefore, the governance system of this. Sir, again, one, you know, window is popping up which says Avi Pravakar is inviting you to join break room 16. And when I'm joining, so I'm, you know, navigating away from the main screen. Shall I do it not now?
Not now. Yeah. Please,
Fine.
please continue, ma'am. Please continue.
Okay, yes. So therefore, it is called, you know, the immutable technology. And it is extensively been used for this. All the sectors are being, you know, used this blockchain. And broadly speaking, we have two types of blockchains. One is public blockchain, one is private blockchain. Like Bitcoin is the example of the public and permissionless blockchain. And in these networks, what we are doing, that these blockchains are open to anyone, and it can be reached by their own digital native currencies. For example, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So these native currencies are required only medium of exchange by this public for blockchain to the exchange value. All public blockchains are allowed for unlimited, anonymous, or posthumous participation. On these public blockchains, native currencies, they need they need two main components. One is to compensate network members for their transaction, and given the anonymous and posthumous nature of network members, right? So to examine this medium of exchange. And the second one is the permissioned one. Generally, it is private for any enterprise. It is permissioned one. So you need a permission. The network cannot be accessed by everyone. Everyone cannot join this, because this is private. This is not a public blockchain, but this is a private blockchain where it is supported by the piloting of this proof of concept. For instance, presently we have a JP Morgan Chase Quorum. So this is the example of this financial institution which uses this private blockchain. Why blockchain is important? They are very, very consistent. They are democratic. They are secure and accurate because of the implementation of cryptography. The cryptography protects all the data as well as the information, and the use of digital keys, the digital signature, is very much required to access the data in the ledger. So, and then it is very much segmented and private. And once the block is being registered, it is permanent in the blockchain. It cannot be tempered, and it can be quickly updated. The ledger reflects any changes in the real time. Every users in this blockchain technology, in that network, in that time frame, whenever the transactions get recorded new, it will be updating to the entire system. And for blockchain enables the creation of, it is very, very intelligent in system, because there are so many enormous benefits. So the creation of this smart contract is one of the, the technology of this blockchain. Now, so this is how it functions. And what do you mean by this smart contracts? So these smart contracts are, in 1997, Nick Szabo, he's a computer scientist. He's a law scholar, as well as he's a cryptographer who initiated this smart contracts. So they use this Kickstarter as a platform for this, as well as the crowd funding platform. So what is this smart contract? So in the smart contract, we don't have any intermediaries as such, right? So we have P2P network, and it run by the consensus. It run by the consensus. Fine. So in the medical field, in the business, in the financial markets, we can go ahead with this smart contracts. Okay. So of course, we have already we have been speaking about this rudimentary accounting system of this distributed ledger technology and the P2P learning system and the cryptography. So now, this is the technology, you know, which contains all the financial transactions, and it is the real-time transactions, as I already mentioned, and it can be written for the public blockchain and as well as the private, and it can be read by the all participants. Any change in this block 1 will be known by this block 2, 3, 4, and all. So it is so decentralized. So for instance, if we have the members like this, so all are connected to each other. These all are known as nodes. Okay, so all are connected to each other, right? So these nodes are connected. Any change in, let's suppose, the A node will create a change in the all nodes. So therefore, it is P2P network. It's based upon the P2P network, and the smart contracts also functions in that way. Okay. So see, what is the difference between the conventional framework as well as the distributed ledger? So this was the centralized mechanism. We had a clearinghouse corporation at the very conventional framework, and any of the transaction will be reported to this clearing house or the settlement house, and from here it is, you know, controlled, monitored, and regulated. But whereas in the if I talk about this distributed ledger technology, so it is totally it is decentralized, right? So see, we don't have any centralized mechanism. All are interconnected to each other, and this is known as decentralized consensus mechanism. All right. So this is the digital database where each member can supplement data through this P2P consensus. So the blockchain is basically based on, the Bitcoin is basically based on this DLT, which is decentralized consensus mechanism, and based on this mining system. Whenever any new digital block will always contain the precedent hash value of this previous block, and therefore hence it becomes immutable. And the proof of work is the another technology through which the hash function cannot be changed. So therefore it is, in terms of scalability, it is very much gigantic. And the DLT is, you can say that it is very, very relevant in future because of the economy of things in the transactions. Transactions now will not be between humans and machines, but now the transactions will be between machines and machines. So this is how it works. So once the users initiate the transactions with their digital signatures, users broadcast their all transactions to the nodes. One or more nodes will validating by each transaction. So any of the transactions needs to be validated by each node. or each node means each miner who is mining for these Bitcoins at the digital platforms. You can be a miner of the Bitcoin. I can be the miner of the Bitcoin. I'll leave you with a small video at the last where you will see that how the Enigma works at, at the very larger extent at the present time for this Bitcoin trading. And then these in aggregate way, these all nodes will be aggregating in aggregate way, they will be validating the transactions into the nodes. And nodes, they broadcast the blocks to each other. There is a consensus protocol system which works, and therefore it is very much the block reflecting the trust state. So it is very much trustworthy, and the intermediary is completely redundant in nature through this distributed ledger technology, and therefore, yeah. So this is the way, the transaction works. This is the one of the example I have taken. Like I have already made you understand that if, let's suppose if blocks are there. So see, the previous block node will be, the hash value will be connected. This hash is similar. This hash and this hash will remain similar. This transactions code will not be known by us. This is mathematically set by the algorithms. The algorithms are placed and the algorithms functions together to support this all, right? So if you say now banks are using all the loans and automatic payments are being done with these blockchains. The insurance proclaims are being using, the medical sector is being extensively been using. All the this payment system is based on this DLT technology. The Ethereum, the smart contract, which is basically based on the Solidity language. The Ethereum is based on the Solidity language of this JavaScript. So this is a very much revolution to build more trust, fairness, the participation, decision making, more momentarily in nature. And it has not only the proof of work, but the proof of stake as well. What is this proof of stake? So the proof of stake is the confirmation of the node by the all participants. And how the mining works. So this is the mining is the process of solving these cryptographic problems using the computer hardware triggers, right? And then the cryptocurrencies will be released. So these all, the miners, like anyone can be, the US miner, Chinese miner, the more the miners, they will be trying for these cryptocurrencies. The more the value of the currency, the blocks will be, increasing in value, and they will be having, the whole network as you can also mine. And this is so spontaneous in nature. The system works on the algorithms. So the more you have to mine these currencies, like any of one, right? Fact A, B, D. So any of one, in the different blocks you can mine. And this will enable you that how you are receiving this or any types of these Bitcoins. Okay. So the mining process is, for instance, here, see the Chinese miner is mining, US miner is mining, Australian miner is mining. So they will be using their all, values to mine their in the different nodes. And these are set by the algorithms. The mathematical algorithms, you have to click any of them. So it is not necessary that if you are mining, you will be authorized to a Bitcoin. So if you are successful in your mining, if you are successful, then you will be getting a one node and any kind of all kind of a Bitcoins or other cryptocurrencies. All right. So this is all about this blockchain technology, which is being used for the cryptocurrencies. So these blockchain is more immutable in nature. They are supported by these technology of this proof of work, proof of stake. Not only that, it also enables the the directed acyclic graphs. So the each nodes will be enabling the intersectoral value of creating networks. So through these directed acyclic graph, that is DAG. So through this, all the nodes will be proofing each other in the as a intersection ecosystem into the the various blocks which are the part of this blockchain. So these systems are not that easy to encrypt or not that easy to decode, right? So therefore, we need to be very, very careful. All right. Yeah, so let me just take you through some of the the cryptocurrencies that what is this cryptocurrencies. So see, the manifestation of these blockchain technologies has been on cryptocurrency. So these cryptocurrencies in the form of as a blockchain miners, they are validating all these transactions, and they are very much transparent. Why? Because in terms of title of ownership, in terms of deeds, in terms of the shapes and sizes like notary, so they are very much permanently recorded. All these bitcoins, whenever the transactions takes place, they are permanently recorded. Therefore, they are unambiguous, and they can be transferred to the subsequent owner who is going to buy. So we have a various types of cryptocurrencies available, like Litecoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Dash, Gcash, Monero, right? What is the this bitcoins or these are the cryptocurrencies are virtual currencies, so they don't need any financial intermediary. Financial intermediary function is totally redundant, and it is completely a digital money, decentralized, peer-to-peer, no intervention of any middleman. So we have a very much good bookkeeping system. So therefore, it is more worth recognizing. So this is the history of this Bitcoin. So the idea was how encrypted in 1998, and then propagated by Satoshi Nakamoto, and the further, the revolutionized scientists who have brought these digital into the existence. They are very much decentralized. They are open sources. They are peer-to-peer, unregulated, anonymous, and yet transparent, and very much irreversible transfers are not possible. They are open source, right? How does one can acquire? You can purchase Bitcoins at Bitcoin exchange and exchanges near to you. You can earn Bitcoins through the competitive mining as well. All right. So we have these, I have already explained you in a very jiffy that what is the use of this, right? So I would like to stop here, and I would like to leave you, with a one small video. Can I? Okay, are you able to see my screen now, the entire screen?
Yes, ma'am.
My computer screen, are you able to see it now? This one, the YouTube one?
Yes, ma'am, we're able to see it.
Yeah, so just for 2-3 minutes, I would like to give you this, Are you able to hear?
No, ma'am, we're not able to hear it. Ma'am, why don't you try resharing it with, the sound on?
Just 1 minute. Are you able to hear now? Are you able to?
No, ma'am, I'm not able to hear it.
Are you able to see this YouTube?
Ma'am, we're able to see it, but we're not able to hear it. Just 1 second, I'll figure it out. Ma'am, why don't you try disconnecting your headphones and putting it on speaker? Maybe that would work.
Okay, okay. Okay, so maybe due to, I'm not using headphone. So maybe due to that, you're unable to listen, right?
No, we're saying just put it on speaker, maybe if you're using your headphones.
Just wait. You just check, are you able to hear?
No, ma'am, it's still not audible.
Is it still not audible?
No, ma'am.
Okay, no issue.
I think, ma'am, please share that link to this participants. Maybe later they will look into that. Yeah, if it is possible, you can share that screen. Unmute. Please unmute yourself.
Ma'am, I don't think you're clearly audible. Sorry to interrupt.
To hear me completely now?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I was just telling that.
Ma'am, you can continue whatever the time. Okay. So you.
Yeah. No. I'm just closing my.
No, sir. Madam, you can continue. Sagar sir is a little bit late to join. That's why. Okay. Whatever time you require, you can continue. Yeah, please.
Okay, fine.
Fine. Thank you.
See, these are some of the cryptocurrencies they work, right? The video was very, very thoughtful video, but anyhow, I would be sharing the link with you, and you guys must watch that video. That will take you to the miner. That will take you to the the mining of these bitcoins, how they are really being mined, and how these young people, even 20 to 25 years people at various countries, they are becoming millionaires and billionaires due to the bitcoin mining at the international level. So what is the purpose, what is the fundamental this motivation behind this bitcoin is it is now directly functioning. So the intermediaries are now being banned. So this is how it functions. The ledgers are being connected to each other, and each block is having, the signature as well as the key. Until you are sharing that, it will not get opened. All right. So that is called the asymmetric crypto system. That is the cryptography technique as I little while earlier I have made mention that this cryptography is the creation of the mathematician Alan Turing, and during Second World War, this Germany has extensively using to break the codes of these, this Nazi codes were broken due to this Enigma implementation. And the cryptography codes are so anonymous and so you can say that supported with these encryptions, and it is not that easy to break this code, right? So see, this is the way it looks like. So what this cryptography does basically in the cryptocurrency trading, which is supported by this blockchain. So this cryptography, the plain text, whatever is the plain text, it will not be the plain. The plain text will be encrypted into a ciphertext. So the plain text, when it is converted into the ciphertext, so this is the normal people cannot understand what is the ciphertext. So for that, you need a cryptography, you need a crypto system to encrypt this code. So therefore, whenever these secret keys are provided to the each block member of this blockchain, or the each blocks or the block holders, that is very, very secured hash logarithmic. So that is based on this hash logarithmic, and the each key, is supported with the one of the public key, one of the secret key. So the encryption or the decoding or breaking or tampering is next to impossible. Fine. So therefore, this is asymmetric crypto system works for this encryption of this cryptocurrencies, which is based on this blockchain technology. And therefore, it is very, very transparent and secured in nature. Fine. So this is now these all technologies are known as digital asset management. So these digital asset management are completely a decentralized trust, which is distributed exchange value. This creates this is based upon the creation as well as storage as well as
sorry
the
for that.
access.
Your PPT is not visible. I think the YouTube one it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, are you able to see?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible now.
Yeah. So I don't know because we were running short of time. So I don't know whether till now whatever is being conveyed to you, it is understandable, or any kind of conflicts of the thoughts, or any kind of a question queries. So you can later ask that.
No problem, ma'am. It's enough time. You can take more time. There's no problem.
Yeah. So this is how you can have a this comes under now as a digital asset management and the value exchange. It creates a complete access to each participant in the system. You don't require any kind of intermediaries into this, and this is the value creation for the digital economy with the support of this internet. Okay, so so this is how we are moving towards the convergence with the help of this cryptocurrencies and the digital access. So we are now more into the internet to value the exchanges. Cryptocurrency protocols are one more protocols where we have all the digital tokens, and blockchains comes into that. And this is the hybrid digital convergence. We are moving towards the hybrid digital convergence in the form of digital technology. And this is going to take us to the new digital era, a complete paradigm shift of unimaginable things, right? And this advent is possible due to the artificial intelligence and the machine learning. So, of course, we cannot discuss the artificial intelligence here, because these all are functioning based on the artificial intelligence and the training of the, the systems. The computers are artificially trained in a such a way so that these all digital platforms and mechanisms are functioning. So that's all I have to say from my end, my dear participants, that the digital currency is overtaking the conventional transactions, and this digital disruptions is very much indispensable, and we have to adapt with this system, and we have to take up these all, in our investments management, in our financial decisions. So now the cryptocurrencies will be the part of the portfolio of the investments. So whenever investors they invest, similarly like equities and bonds and real estate, now cryptocurrency will also be the part of our investment portfolio, which will yield us the maximum returns. So however, we are not without any cons. We as every invention has pros and cons. So over the period of time, we'll overcome with these cons. And once again, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Appalla Naidu and all the lovely participants, the principal of this institute, for giving me the generous opportunity to share my some thoughts with this students. And I hope in a 1 hour of time, I have done the justification to all of you. So over to you, sir, Professor Appalla Naidu, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the enlightening session. All of us definitely we are learn a lot with the cryptocurrency, what the blockchain and all. Really, we are enjoy this session, ma'am. And just over to you to you can take the question and answers if we allow. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, Prabhakar.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the session. It was really comprehensive and enlightening for all of us. And now we'll move on to the questions. Participants, whatever questions you have, please drop them in the chat box. We have some questions, ma'am.
How to analyze the crypto market and make decisions to buy or not to buy based on that? The buying of the cryptocurrency is, of course, how to buy, not to buy, it's not the question. Now the cryptos are being listed. Now as the index, you have a cryptos which are being listed with the very less amount also. You can, the miners are different who mine for the crypto because they will be getting as a reward for crypto. And but now you can invest in crypto market as you invest in stocks. Of course, you will. This is the digital ownership, fine. So digitally only it will be recorded, and as normal we are buying the other equities and other financial instruments or alternatives which are available. So now we can own these cryptocurrencies. However, being as a finance professor, I myself have not even invested till now cryptocurrency. So I would also hope to, invest. And the second question is, what is the difference between the coin and the token? Right? That is the question by Naman Gupta. So see, the Bitcoin coins, when you directly when you are investing, right, that is you are the owner of the particular investments, and this tokens, generally what happens, the miners who are mining for these bitcoins, so whenever they are clicking that, so they are being also rewarded with these different tokens. What are these NFTs and how they are related to blockchain? Okay, so I haven't explored these NFTs till now, so I may look into it and I can revert to you. How can I create my own cryptocurrency if I want to? So yeah, very good question. See, the creation of the cryptocurrency it's based upon, you know, that when you are first you have to become a miner of this cryptocurrency. If you want to mine, you have to float your cryptocurrency, and it will depend upon that at the international level, because there is no, this is so anonymous. You don't have any intermediary who will be acting as a for your, you know, promotion of this. It depends upon how much the cryptocurrency will be recognized by the miners. If you can create we can create own cryptocurrency based on the miners who are mining this, and they are, you know, subscribing the currency. So based on that only it is possible. Of course, right now the video was consisting, you know, a very useful information where how the 20-year-old has created his own cryptocurrency mining at, you know, some of the area of, you know, the Western European part. So of course we can do that, but mining when we are mining these cryptocurrencies, and through this mining, how much, you know, the mining is difficult. Why? Because all over the world the miners are mining for this. Europe, America, Japan, China, India, all the miners are, you know, mining. The more the number of the miners increases, the chances, the probability, the likelihood to get that, you know, the token is it minimizes. How are indexes on 24/7 days performance of coin made, and we can trust them? Okay, so see, as far as the trust is concerned, so this is a very irrational, I can say that, the concept, because when the conventional banking mechanism can fail into the economy, because the banks are trustworthy, the financial systems are trustworthy, the financial intermediaries, the service providers, they all function based on certain, you know, information into the market. So, but many a times, due to various issues or the shocks into the economy, the systems are failures, like in a recent, you know, the NBFC failure, or the financial crises where the investment banks have failed. So this digitalization has been more emphasized due to the conventional framework of these, you know, the financial systems and intermediaries, especially after this global meltdown of this 2009, 7 and 9. So now, due to the failure of these investment banks, now we are more into the digital, you can say that, trusting, because it is more peer-to-peer without any intermediary. What do you think of the future of cryptocurrency in context of India, as RBI is about to bring own digital currency? See, we have to be very, very anticipating and futuristic, and with the positive futuristic perception we must have. Of course, we have a very good future of this cryptocurrency, because RBI has already, you know, introduced this cryptocurrency and authenticated that we must have as a part of digital currency. Okay, so but however, see, these financial markets and the digital disruptions also a part of financial markets, and the financial markets are very much you know, sensitive to the certain kind of a shocks. So which shock is going to decrease the value of particular financial asset or instrument? It is some completely conditional to that particular shock. For instance, I'll tell you, in the recent past, see, last week, so many of the stocks, you know, have hit the lowest. That Lawrence Lab, which is the pharma sector stock, it has touched to the lowest into the financial in the recent past in Indian stock market, right? So there are a lot of fundamental issues are involved, and the company issues are involved, and the globalization and the entire decentralized process is involved. So what matters is that of course, if the positivity of the economy and the expansion of the economy will do a promotion, and these digital investments will be successful, but the future is uncertain, and due to various shocks, it can have repercussions as well. Okay. Yeah. So Shaurya has asked, what are your views on fear and greed index in cryptocurrency as well as in the stock market, and how can we use that? See, the fear and greed index is the behavioral finance, and from the behavioral finance aspect, the fear and greed index, it captures the irrationality of the investors into the market. And of course, as I mentioned, the markets are random. The markets are very, very momentarily in nature many a times, and they functions very stochastically. Why? Because the investors many a times, they don't trade rationally. They trade irrationally. They go by the heuristics of the markets. They go by the crowd of the market, right? And which information creates greed in them, which information creates fear in them. There are a lot of psychological issues are involved in that. My dear friends, you see one more thing that, see, we have the economic analysis, we have fundamental analysis, we have company analysis, we have behavioral aspects analysis of the stocks. And recently, of course, we are talking about investor sentiment, we're talking about fear and greed index, but still we cannot predict the market. Why? Why we cannot predict the market? Tell me. Any one of you would like to participate? Why, despite of these many, assistants, we cannot predict the market? Because many a times the markets are, yeah, someone has written Shashank volatility. See, markets are random, and which information leads to the investment, so the buying or selling decision or the trading decision of the investors, that is not known, right? These all factors all together, they work into the market. And of course, the sentiments are different. The investor sentiment, we say that with the advent of behavioral finance and the Nobel laureate of this behavioral finance, Robert Shiller, who talks about irrationality, talks about sentiment can be captured. But my dear friends, sentiments and the fundamentals and the decision making, but still it remains with some sort of a component which cannot be measured in quantitative terms, and therefore markets remains volatile. The bearish and the bullish nature of the markets cannot be captured. Why? Because at the same time, at one time, we can have two types of traders. See, at a very fundamental question I would like to ask you that, see, in market, at a time there is a transaction is taking place. One person is buying and another is selling. It is itself gives us the instinct. It itself gives us the understanding that at the same time we have two notions for the markets, the buyers as well as seller. So the these contradictory points. Who is anticipating about the market? The another is pessimistic about the market, and therefore the trade is getting executed into the market, right? So this is what the psychological notions of this investors. Of course, we go by all the technicalities and the traders. We have a short-run traders, we have a long-term investors. So these different sentiments of the markets makes it more volatile, and therefore these all scenarios prevails. Can we use coding experiences to analyze markets? Of course, see, the technical analyst, they do all the analysis of this. The technical analyst, they use the past information, and they go by this all, understanding of this market with the coding and whatever the parameters they use, like the moving average parameter or whatever statistics. Of course, we can go ahead with this.
All right, ma'am. Thank you for answering all the questions in the chat box. It was a lovely session, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And we are very sorry for the technical issues that came up at the starting. And we hope it was
Absolutely no issues.
a bit inconvenience. Naidu sir, would you like to say anything before we go on to the next speaker? But I don't think Naidu sir is here.
I thank Rabah Chaudhary. I think Rabah Chaudhary and Avi Prabhakar, you both are anchoring. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
From the student cell. Yeah. So very thank you for all your coordination.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You're
Thanks a
too
lot,
kind.
ma'am. It was a pleasure to meet you.
So I hope that I have addressed all the issues of the students, and I will also post, that link of this YouTube into this chat box, and this students, they can, go ahead and just watch this. This is very, very insightful, and a very good knowledge you will get it. Okay.
Definitely, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I have already posted.
It was an honor having you, ma'am. Thank you.
My pleasure. Pleasure.
Yeah, sure. Our next speaker is Mr. Sagar Vishnoi, political campaigner and communications expert. Mr. Sagar's key experience lies in political communications. He holds extensive experience in the strategy and political communications, having developed and executed the strategy for various politicians, political parties, and governments. Sir has always prioritized innovation, which is reflected in his campaigns. He introduced video dialogue replacement first time in a political campaign around the world. He has been a part of various political war rooms across parties, where he has helped in forming communication strategies, application of tricks on ground form, local candidates, chief minister offices, regional, national political parties, to international presidential elections in Southeast Asia. Mr. Vishnoi has worked across 5 political parties with 100 plus MLAs, 6 MPs, 2 chief minister office, and 3 international presidential campaign in South Asia. He has written regularly on issues of technology, politics, public policy, governance, and other human stories on portals like The Print, The Quint, The Better India, Daily O, and Dainik Bhaskar, and the India Developing Mirror. He is also the founder of a governance innovation lab called Govern, which works on the intersection of governance and innovation to produce innovative products for government and public servants. He's mentor of change for the Atal Innovation Mission to make aware and teach students about innovation in government schools. He's been awarded by United Nations and honored by Indian Youth Forum for his efforts in the social sector. Sir has spoken at TEDx platform and 10 plus other public platforms, colleges, on how 4th industrial technology can disrupt democracy. His specialities include political communications and analysis, strategy, innovation, crisis communication, cyber warfare, digital media, media relations, etc. It's truly an honor having you with us, sir. The platform is yours whenever you're ready.
Yeah, Rabah, sir ko co-host karna, please.
Yes, sir.
There is some network issue, some technical glitches.
Sure. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You're perfectly audible.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, Naidu sir. I'm very honored that you invited me for this sessions. And special thanks to Dr. Apra Sinha, who invited me for this session on future of blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I apologize that I'm unable to share my video screen because of the technical problem.
No problem.
But
Please, no.
yeah, as I was listening to Dr. Jyoti's session, and she has informed a lot about how the blockchain. She informed about so many things, like what is blockchain and what are the three. I would like to repeat those three characteristics, which are very important for the blockchain to work, and those are the immutability, the irreversibility, and the security specialty of the blockchain. So, but I would like to focus more upon the usage and application of blockchain in a manner that how the real world problems can be solved with the usage of blockchain and its applications. I would also like to talk about the current scenario of blockchain, as in how they are being currently used in farming, in governance, in politics, and even what is the job scenario around blockchain and crypto industry. So I would like to first begin with how the crypto industry is being changed after the Bitcoin or the other cryptocurrency has arrived. As Jyoti, Dr. Jyoti informed all of us, how Satoshi Nakamoto introduced the Bitcoin and how this public blockchain system, Bitcoin, which is a public blockchain system, actually evolved, and now it is, and since it is it is based on DLT, decentralized ledger technology, and so it is trying to decentralize the financial system. It is trying to take the replacement of finance as digital finance. I would like to quote some figures about it. Many of you must have heard of Zerodha platform, which is a stock trading platform available on App Store and iOS app. So Zerodha has approximately 7 million users. All right. And parallel to that, there are different cryptocurrency platforms which are called WazirX and CoinSwitch Kuber. So WazirX, on the same note, has 8.5 million users, and CoinSwitch Kuber has 11 million users. So that itself says a lot about how this crypto industry is catching up. And the average age of crypto investors is around 25 years. So the complete this 19.5 crypto users in India has invested approximately 6 lakh crore in crypto assets, which is a big amount. And it has also crossed many times from the subscriber base of Zerodha, which is which holds the biggest number of stock traders in India. So that itself says a lot about crypto industry. And among those, those are the young investors in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which don't understand much about the stock market, but have taken a fancy to virtual currencies such as Bitcoin and Cardano and Ethereum and so many. And the average age of all those crypto users is around 25 years. Again, the government is trying to regulate it, and there is some strong possibility that a cryptocurrency bill will be introduced in Parliament, which is going to start from 3rd November. So government is also keen, and they are cautious that no irregularities happen, and they are taking care of the danger it poses that so that not many people will lose money out of it, and a trust can be created that it can be regulated. Also, I would like to put focus on how the application usage of blockchain is going through. I would like to take a personal example, like how I am doing, how I started research on blockchain. Like I started researching, and I also published a research paper on the future of voting using blockchain, which can, truly revolutionize the voting system. So I published this research paper along with Dr. Afra Sinha and in India Developing Mirror, and it which told us about the how uh, the voting, which can be based upon the blockchain, can not only decrease the amount of time people can really hold to do voting, but it can also increase the amount which Election Commission of India spent on conducting elections. So many things can happen, like no fraud system can be there. There are so many there are so many doubts on the current election system, which is upon the EVMs. I'm not saying that it's wrong or right, but there's so many doubts have been created. So blockchain can really provide a tamper-proof, irreversible, and immutable solution to the voting system, where no tampering can be done and no hacking can be done. I agree that it's based on like internet, but it's so secure that no hacking can be done out of it. And the real-time results will be visible when voting will be conducted. So the decentralized nature of it can provide a very strong mechanism of voting to our election system. And also, if you check the latest news reports, Hyderabad has conducted e-voting on blockchain recently, like on 17th and 18th October, to try this new voting system mechanism. They just piloted in their municipal elections, so that a future possibility of conducting elections can be taken out of it. And there are so many discussions going around of it, like US conducted in 2020 last year in one of the constituency. Also in Sierra Leone, a country in Africa, conducted their auditing of votes on blockchain system. So the future of what we say elections seems to be pretty decent and bright if we take the application usage of this blockchain. But there are, like any type of invention or technology, takes a thorough time to get introduced and to get reflected in a at a scale and in a at a mass scale. So it will take its due time, but yes, it's going at a good space because of like research what I am doing, and like the product we are creating along with IIT Mumbai, and that product will be out in like within 6 months time. But the Election Commission is already trying to pilot it one of the state, which I mentioned in Hyderabad, and they are the CEO of Chief Election Commission has also said that it will be piloted in for the postal ballot thing in 2024 elections. So the future, when we talk about the future of blockchain, is going to be really bright. And also, like one more example I would like to take, the political parties or the governance systems have already started to take notice of this innovative technology. Recently, as 2022 elections are coming up, so Rashtriya Lokdal, which is a party based out of West UP, they have included the blockchain to become part of their manifesto and how they are going to solve problems related to agriculture and farming, and the public, so that public can take good usage of this technology. They have inculcated those points so that blockchain can be used for farming purposes, as it makes intermediaries redundant, mediators redundant. That's why we can say the payment system can be given directly to farmers or the beneficiaries. So it is one of the biggest, we say, advantage of introducing blockchain into farming or agriculture. And also, like, payments can be done directly to the sugar mills or any factories. And the governance system can hence be improved and fastened, rather like focusing on bottlenecks and then working upon them. So another application is the political parties and our public representatives are taking care of this technology, so that if in case they comes into power, so they can use it for people's usage. We have seen recent examples in UP government and Karnataka government, how they are trying to focus upon blockchain usage into supply chain and into what we say, the smart contract technology into mapping of houses, and also for the education purposes. Why? Because of, number one, the security purpose it gives. So no cheating, or we can say time stamping will be possible into education purposes and examinations. And also for the we say the advantage of removing intermediaries provides a brilliant advantage to supply chain mechanism, which just remove the intermediaries out of the system and hence smoothening the process. So I believe there are like many examples where blockchain can be useful. Like in health, it can be useful in transportation and mobility, but we have to focus upon the actual use cases which are getting implemented into our systems. Like crypto is one of the use case which is getting implemented as digital finance. There are few countries even which have given it the authenticity to for the usage of the crypto into their financial system. But there are many doubts into the different heads of IMF, World Bank, as how the crypto industry will go. That's why the global usage might take time, but the popularity and the crypto frenzy is really attracting people towards investing their money into the different cryptocurrencies. So we have to look at like how future of blockchain can be based upon the use cases, rather like just focusing upon the only uses of it. Also, like I would like to tell you how the job scenario of blockchain developers in India is growing. So as like the current what we call the hottest job scenario into financial system is fintech. At the same time, there is a big crunch of good blockchain developers and crypto miners into the system. Like currently there are more than 50,000 professionals which are working in Indian crypto industry, and the like sector is about to create 30% more jobs in next 4 months. So there is a big crunch of blockchain crypto developers into the crypto industry. Companies like WazirX, CoinSwitch Kuber, CryptoCase, they are hiring, and the what we say, the salary package offered is quite high as compared to the other jobs. Like the average salary is about 7.5. The range goes from 7.5 or 8 lakh per annum to even 80 lakh per annum. This is just, I'm like telling, for this is just the salary package for freshers, because there is a huge crunch, and even there are freshers who have done blockchain courses. They are having 4 to 5 offers, those who have completed. So even the job prospect into the blockchain industry and its usage and use cases are very bright. I would like to take questions so that I can, answer.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Prabha, so dear participant, please drop
If-
your questions.
Yeah. If you have any questions, in the meantime, like I can speak, you can start dropping your questions.
Yes.
In the meantime, I can talk about like how the like it's going to impact our jobs even further. So the blockchain technology will have a serious impact on intermediaries, and as the fourth industrial revolution has really come up, and even Zuckerberg has introduced metaverse. Many of you must have seen the video of metaverse, and you must be knowing about it. Many must of you not known. If you have not seen that video, please see. So the demand of the AI people and even the blockchain developers is going to increase, because the basic skill sets they one needs to polish their skills is machine learning and NLP, natural language processing, and developing nodes, Node.js, and creating skill sets of blockchain into Node.js and other languages. So, and how it's going to impact fintech or the crypto industry is going to be huge, because finance was the first use case of blockchain which hit the industry like really bad, and it's going to further aggravate the situation of not only the crypto users but the digital finance in Indian and Asian economy. So and which is going to impact the job scenario further. So jobs are going to be get created for the blockchain, those who understand it and those who are seeking that, because see, the job prospects, if I talk about understanding a future of blockchain and crypto, is going to create a huge difference. The current skill set is not going to match what skill set we are going to have in the next 3 to 4 years. Understanding that there will be a huge crunch of fintech and blockchain crypto miners. So if you have to really jump or accelerate your career prospects, you can, of course, like their IITs have started blockchain fintech courses. There are even Harvard or Cambridge are offering the courses into blockchain. So you can really look up to those courses and start like inquiring about them, or how they are going to get you more career opportunities for a better future into blockchain scenario. Understanding how the world is going to change after this innovative technology is going to revolutionize our world in a more better manner. So are there any questions?
So there are
Yeah. So
questions in the chat box.
yeah. So how it can be used in health sector? So under health sector, there are many things like under Ayushman Bharat government. I would like to take two examples. One of like how it's going to impact health through the privately and also through the publicly. So under the publicly, the government has different schemes like Ayushman Bharat, and they also transfer many funds through this PM Jandhan, and they provide different mechanisms for the Jan Aushadhi Yojana. So which impacts people and then which impacts, and they increase people's health. But the financial aspect of it, understanding that government has already released e-rupee thing. It's a digital coin. It's we can say digital currency, but it is not a cryptocurrency yet. But the government is on its way to make it look like further introduce blockchain into it, so that no intermediaries can take advantage out of it, and the payment can directly be done to the beneficiary, or the beneficiary
So you're not audible.
Yeah, I think sir have some having some technical problem. I think network issue. So just a minute, dear participants. Maybe
so related.
dear participant, I think Sagar sir having some technical network
Hello.
issue. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please carry.
Yeah. So under that situation, the crypto trading is surely going to impact. And for the existing users, I believe the platform like the WazirX or CoinSwitch, they are going to take decisions whether the impact will be on existing users, will be how much impact will be there on existing users. That is for sure, because when the regulation is going to come, it will impact the existing users. But how or how much quantity is going to impact, that is surely going to be reflected when the that details will come out of those platforms like the ZRX and others. So yes, it's going to impact the different crypto trading platforms.
Right, sir. I don't think there are.
Yeah.
I think between time, dear participant, if you want to
Yes.
ask any question, please unmute.
If wants to speak or has any question, please come forward.
Yes, you can confirm the question.
Deepak, can you please type your question in the chat box?
Or unmute yourself and you can ask the question. If you are above, please allow to those who are, please raise your, dear participant, please raise your hand if you have any questions, and so you can ask to our speaker.
Deepak, could you please raise your hand?
Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon.
You can raise your hand.
Yeah, you're able to hear
good
me?
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Deepak Gautam. I'm actually Swastika father, and I was listening to your conference, which was very interesting regarding crypto and blockchain. So I just have few questions, like being the active trader of crypto. So few things I was having in my mind that post this Indian regulation. So like, can it be completely banned in India, or it will be just regulated in terms of taxation or declaration? So what will be the methodology to find out the solution for this? If you can give some insight into that.
Sure. So, like, the government removed the ban, like, when few reports of like some indiscrepancies came, then like government trying, everybody was in doubt, like what type of technology it is,
Hmm.
what type of trading platform it is, as it's very new and very few people know about it and about the technology. So many were like whimsical about it, how it is going to happen. Then with the pressure of users, so huge number of users and the platforms, government removed the ban. Then after, like, currently in the current situation, government, there was many platforms and the users and the think tanks were saying that there should be a regulation process into the crypto system.
Yes.
Any other questions, Deepak?
Hello. I think.
Participants, please
Okay.
write down your questions in the chat box if you have any more.
Yeah, dear participant, anyone have any questions or any kind of queries? Please let you know. Please raise your hand and you can drop a message.
Seeing none, let's move to the final vote of thanks. But before that, sir, thank you so much for such an enlightening session. It was really amazing to hear everything that you had to offer. Now, over to Ishita for the final vote of thanks.
Morning to all present here. I, Ishita, on behalf of Finance and Investment Cell, ARSD College, would like to express my gratitude to all esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. I extend my gratitude to our honorable speakers, Mr. Sagar Vishnoi and Dr. Jyoti Kumari, to take out time from their busy schedules to grace the event and share a slice from the vast expanse of findings, opinions, and knowledge with us. It was indeed very insightful to learn about your take on the future of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. A special thanks to Dr. Gyantosh Jha, esteemed principal of our college, for providing immense support constantly, always. Furthermore, I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our sincere thanks to Dr. Rapala Naidu, convener FIC, for the perfect logistic support and guidance he has extended to all of us. Finally, I heartily thank all the participants for their active participation in this webinar and the organizing team for providing us with the opportunity to learn. Now I shall request Dr. Naidu sir to share a few warm words.
Yeah, thank you, Isa Alada. It's an immense pleasure to completed this enlightening session. I am very much thankful to all our speakers, right, giving us for time to in a busy schedule. Still, I think Sagar sir is still on the journey actually. So madam is suffering some kind of medical problem, but still because of our college and invitation, because of our request, so they are making to time for us and great successful. And finally I would like to thanks to our principal sir and our webinar committee convener Dr. Vinita Tuli ma'am. Due to some other programs to she was not participated here. And last but least, one of our technical team, Ms. Ravindra Pant, is always supporting us in a great successful all the programs. And I heartfelt thanks to all our FIC team, the president, and all the team members in all the in the team, and the team members of the technical team, and whatever the all the right. So participants, and last, my dear colleagues and teachers and friends from the other universities, and my dear students, thanks to one and all. I hope it's a great success. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all. Thank you, sir, Sagar sir, and thank you, Jyoti ma'am. for a wonderful session. We are
Thank you,
enjoyed.
sir. Thank you once again for inviting me and to be a part of your family. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. We are looking forward to the offline session. Due to this pandemic, we are conducting these webinars in virtual mode. But
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So fintech is my specialization, sir. So no issues. It will be always a pleasure for me to share my thoughts on this fintech.
Yeah, I apologize whatever it is the uncomfortable time.
No, sir. No, not at all, sir. These are the part and parcel of the system, and we are always,
Still we are yes, ma'am.
yes, no issues, sir. Those technical glitches always arises, and we have to.
Dear
No
person,
issue. I didn't face any issues at all.
Yes.
Participants, please turn on your cameras for some pictures.
Hello, ma'am, and Jyoti ma'am
uh,
or Sagar sir, if you are comfortable, please. All participants, all of you, please. Please turn your videos so that you can take a kind of snaps for the recording. And after that, we are sharing that feedback form. So all of you, please, those who have participated in this webinar, please fill that feedback form so that you can get the certificates. Okay.
Jyoti
Thank you.
ma'am,
Yeah, please.
Jyoti ma'am, if it's possible, can you please send the link of the video that you were referring to?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please. Sagar sir, if you don't mind.
Please tell me. I have to share this link, right?
Yes, ma'am. On the chat box, please. Thank you.
Sure. I'm just doing that.
Dear all the participants, please turn off your videos, please. You can take the. Yeah, please take 1 minute, please. All of you, please turn your videos, please. Yeah. Thank you, one and all. Thanks to all participants and all the distinguished speakers and our principal, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Rabah.
Yes, sir.
Please stop the record.
Yes, sir.